story of fiction, not a story of fantasy, but a real story. There was slavery, and Henry Box Brown was born in slavery in the year of 1815. This was before electronics, before World War II, and even before Abraham Lincoln was president. We will tell his story.
There was slavery. Slaves were black people that had to work for white people and did not get paid. Some slaves didn't know when their birthdays were. There was one slave named Henry, and this is his story.
A lot of black people were whipped from their master. Henry was never whipped by his master.
Hi, I'm Henry, and I am treated well. Unlike some other slaves, I have nice clothes because my master really likes me. I'm also allowed to go fishing with my brother, and I never get whipped.
Some slaves got taken away from their families. Henry's mother was scared of Henry being taken away.
Do you see those leaves flying in the wind? They are torn from trees like slave children are torn from their families.
One morning, Henry's master, who was very ill, called him and his mother to his room. Henry ran up to his room. He thought he was being freed from slavery, but sadly he was being given to his master's son and being separated from his mother.
Henry, you are a great worker, so I'm giving you to my son. Henry, you must obey him and never tell him.
Henry felt sad he wasn't being freed from slavery.
Later that day, Henry watched a bird.
He wished he was free like that bird.
Goodbye, master. Goodbye, family. I will miss you terribly.
Henry was given away to his master's son. He was the old master's son. He didn't whip him. Henry's job was at a tobacco factory. He was living in the same central country. This was difficult for him. He felt awfully lonely because he was separated from his mother and knew he would probably never see her again. A few years later, he met the love of her life, the love of his life. Her name was Nancy.
Henry had to work from 7 a.m. to 9 o'clock p.m. He could not see Nancy during the day. There was a law that slaves could not walk on the streets at night, so Henry had to sneak out to see Nancy.
Would you marry me? I mean, would you like to be my wife?
Henry, I'd love to be your wife.
Couple could not get married until they got permission from their masters.
If you agree not to sell Henry, I will not sell Nancy. And if they have children, they are my property. That sounds like a deal. You can have the wedding at my house.
The wedding began. There were not many black people, so since the wedding was held at Nancy's master's house.
I now pronounce you husband and wife.
Several years passed. In that time, they had come to a little home and 3 children. The children grew and life was great for them. Henry loved his family. He really enjoyed it and forgot all about his loneliness until
Nancy's master knew he plays gambling the bets. He placed money on bets that he thought he could win, but apparently didn't. He owned a lot of money, meaning some Nancy and the children more to get money.
Henry heard from a friend of his at work that his family was going to be taken to be sold. He was really terrified, mad, and upset. However, he had to wait until he was allowed to leave.
My family's going to be taken away!
Henry rushed him as quickly as he could to see his family. And by the time he got to his family, they were gone. The children were in the big wagon and chains were on the arms of the out slaves. He managed just to see his children.
Father, help me!
He could do nothing. Then he saw Nancy walking up the road. He held her hand for as long as he could and watched her leave. When he went back into his house, he saw that all his stuff was gone. Nancy's master had collected it to be sold. angry and deeply sad. Everybody in his family had been taken away. They were sold and he didn't know where they were. He was afraid he would never see them again. He hated being a slave. He wanted to leave to get out of slavery. Henry knew if he tried to run away, he'd probably be hunted down and killed. He needed another plan. He talked to a white store owner and his friend Samuel Smith.
I want to escape from slavery, so I need your help to think of a plan.
Why are you talking to me about this? Aren't you afraid to tell me?
I believe that you can help me. I trust you. I need your help to think of a plan.
Henry was so desperate, he offered Samuel $86. Samuel agreed with the payment, even knowing Henry only had $66 in his pocket.
Samuel had lots of ideas, but Henry thought all of them were too dangerous.
What if I mail myself to freedom? I understand that the state of Pennsylvania is a free state with no slaves.
I have a friend in Philadelphia. We can send you to him.
Carpenter made a box for Henry to be shipped in. Henry's box was small compared to Henry, who was 5 feet and 8 inches. The box was only 3 feet long and 2 feet wide.
They put 3 breathing holes in the box where Henry's face would be. Henry had biscuits and water to drink or to pour on his face, and a little handrail in case he needed more breathing holes. The box was lined with cloth. They would try to send him on March 23rd. The box said this side up and fragile. They wanted Henry to be treated gently and kept right side up.
Are you ready, Henry? It might be uncomfortable in there.
Yes, if it gives me freedom, then I'm okay with it.
Henry sat down into the box, which he was almost too big for. The box was nailed shut. Henry had to hug his knees and would stay like that for 27 hours. He could barely move his legs. His head touched the top of the box and his head got very sore. The box was very uncomfortable.
Dr. Smith and I will take you up to the mailing station and get you shipped.
As soon as he got on the boat heading towards Washington, D.C., his box was turned upside down. He immediately had a headache because he was on his head. Henry felt unconscious. He was very cramped. He felt like his head would explode. Eventually, the box with Henry's eye was turned onto his side. This happened even though on the box it said this side up and fragile. The box became Henry's torture chamber.
This isn't a box, it's a coffin.
The box was very dark. The only light he had was from the breathing holes at the top of the box. Henry could not sleep in the box even though he was very tired.
Ow, this is very uncomfortable.
Henry had to hold in all his sneezes so no one could hear him. There he stayed for longer than a day. He couldn't stand it anymore, wanting to get out. He tried to kick the box open, but nothing happened. Henry was stuck.
Mailed himself to Philadelphia. Henry knew he had to get out of work. He went to his overseer.
I injured my finger, and I don't think that I can work.
Oh, you can lift. It's fine.
I wonder what I could do to injure my finger more so I can get a day off of work and won't be missed. I think I'll go see Dr. Smith.
Henry immediately went to see Dr. Smith.
I have some acid. That would injure your finger so badly that your overseer would probably get you a day off of work.
Most of the acid spilled on Henry's finger and burnt it down to the bone. Burns are very painful and Henry wanted to cry. It hurt Henry, but it was worth it because the overseer said that he could get a day off from work. Carpenter made a box for Henry to be shipped in. Henry's box was small compared to Henry, who was 5 feet and 8 inches. The box was only 3 feet long and 2 feet wide.
They put 3 breathing holes in the box where Henry's face would be. Henry had biscuits and water to drink or to pour on his face, and a little handrail in case he needed more breathing holes. The box was lined with cloth. They would try to send him on March 23rd. The box said this side up and fragile. They wanted Henry to be treated gently and kept right side up.
Are you ready, Henry? It might be uncomfortable in there.
Yes, if it gives me freedom, then I'm okay with it.
Henry sat down into the box, which he was almost too big for. The box was nailed shut. Henry had to hug his knees and would stay like that for 27 hours. He could barely move his legs. His head touched the top of the box and his head got very sore. The box was very uncomfortable.
Dr. Smith and I will take you up to the mailing station and get you shipped.
As soon as he got on the boat heading towards Washington, D.C., his box was turned upside down. He immediately had a headache because he was on his head. Henry felt unconscious. He was very cramped. He felt like his head would explode. Eventually, the box with Henry's eye was turned onto his side. This happened even though on the box it said this side up and fragile. The box became Henry's torture chamber.
This isn't a box, it's a coffin.
The box was very dark. The only light he had was from the breathing holes at the top of the box. Henry could not sleep in the box even though he was very tired.
Ow, this is very uncomfortable.
Henry had to moan in all his sneezes, so no one could hear him. There he stayed for longer than a day. He couldn't stand it anymore, wanting to get out. He tried to kick the box open, but nothing happened. Henry was stuck.
Henry traveled in a box on a tree and on a wagon and then a ship. He was in the box for a long time. He survived with only a couple biscuits, water, and then crawled in the box where he could breathe. After 27 hours of travel, the ship finally stopped in Philadelphia. Philadelphia is in Pennsylvania. And in Pennsylvania, you're not allowed to have slaves. Henry wasn't free yet because he was stuck on Philadelphia.
He was taken off the ship and put in a storage until a man came to pick him up at 7 o'clock. He was carried in his box to the office of James Miller. James was Samuel Smith's friend and the leader of the Pennsylvania Anti-Slavery Society. Henry didn't know where he was. Henry heard voices around his box. He was tired, vague, nauseous, and in great pain.
Henry, are you in there? I'm here.
The man with James opened the box, and before Henry's face, he sang the Thanksgiving song for them.
I waited patiently for the Lord, and He inclined to me and heard my calling. I waited patiently for the Lord, and He inclined to me and heard my calling. Henry, are you okay?
From then on, the day he got From then on the day he got to Philadelphia, March 23rd, 1849 became his birthday. It was the beginning of his life as a free man.
When Henry woke up, everyone was excited around him. The men woke him and said he was free from slavery.
Henry,
Everybody will call you that.
And from that day on, Henry always used his name Henry Fox Brown.
When he arrived in Philadelphia, Henry was free from slavery. Some people wanted Henry to talk about his story because it might inspire other slaves so they can try to free themselves. Frederick Douglass, a famous African-American man who spoke for freeing slaves, didn't want him to share his story because he thought others could escape slavery in the same way.
Shortly after Henry escaped, the Fugitive Slave Act was passed. This meant that slaves who made their way to freedom could be sent back to their owners.
Maybe I should move to England so that I won't have to worry about being caught every day.
In England, Henry had a new wife and
In England, Henry met a new wife, and they had one daughter. He learned how to be a magician and stayed there for many years, and then he returned to the USA.
back in the United States, Henry told his story as part of a magic act. No one knows when or where Henry died, but his story is a big part of the story of slavery in American history.
Has one of the most interesting slave stories in my opinion. Now, after Abraham Lincoln was president, after World War II, and even after electronics were invented, slavery does not exist at all in the United States. This means no one has to know